It started.
Okay, so today we are going to discuss a little bit and then question answers regarding module 2. So here we go. In this module, we have 5 chapters, or you can say 5 subparts. First one is lexical semantics, then query semantics and processing, then semantic distance and closeness, then distributional versus sentential semantics, semantic role labeling, and frame semantics. So first part is lexical semantics. When we say lexical, it means the relationship between words, how different words and phrases are connected with each other, what is their common shared context, how they are connected. And last night, I recorded a video for my team. Sometimes, without lexical semantics, your responsiveness is fully failed. If you don't follow lexical semantics, if you don't understand lexical semantics, your responsiveness may be hurt. So you need to always understand what is the role of a word or a phrase in your sentence or in a specific context. So while making semantic content or doing your research, you need to understand what are the hypernyms and hyponyms, what is the broader category, and what is the specific type within a broader category. So you have read all the examples here, synonyms and antonyms. Synonyms and antonyms in dictionary meanings are something opposite, but they have a huge shared context between them. So they become semantically closed because of their shared context. Sentiment is opposite, meaning is opposite, but there is a huge shared context between them. So you need to understand synonym, antonym, and their need or importance in your semantic content. And while doing research, we need to understand, okay, these are the contexts, these are the synonyms, and these are the antonyms, and how we will utilize them in our documents. Then meronyms and holonyms, sometimes there are parts, but sometimes there are smaller portion that are included, or without them the meaning will not be completed. So you need to understand meronym holonym concept to include vocabulary, to enrich entities presence. And in last time, okay, today we are going to discuss distribution semantics. So all these things, lexical relations of words, lexical semantics, help the search engines understand overall context through distribution semantics. How we are distributing our contextual terms, context terms, and context phrases in our content that are building a common shared context. And then related multiple meanings, polysemy, homonymy. You have, I suppose, you have read everything from this document. So you need to understand what is the purpose and how strategically we need to use these concepts of lexical semantics, words relationships in our content. If you have read this case study from Sir Kore, then you need nothing from my side. That's everything from the semantic SEO ocean in this single case study. So second part of this module 2 is query semantics and processing. When we say semantics, literal meaning of semantics is the science of meanings, the science of words, what they mean, and how with the change of context or with the addition of one word, meaning may be influenced. So everything in SEO rounds about belongs to queries. What are the user queries and how we are utilizing user queries and their semantics in our content. So query semantics you need to understand separately, and then when we say query semantics, it means the meanings of queries, the context of queries, and the relatedness with the other queries in a document or a user search history. In query semantics, there are two steps. One is query processing. First is query parsing and then query processing. The slides that we shared from Sarkore, that is the huge resource, I think here. Okay, so here query processing, when there is a searcher searching a query in the search bar, search engine has to parse a query. It means it tries to understand each word from a query, how these words are related, and how this collection of words is building a new context. What is the overall context? What are the entities? What are their attributes? Or what are the stop words in a query? So after announcement of things, not strings, the introduction of knowledge graph, after that search engine started to look for the entities in a user query. What is the entity and what other words in a query has connection with the main entity. So here we are going to discuss how search engines rewrite, parse, and augment queries. Augmentation is a part of parsing, and then when search engines start processing, it starts looking into the databases and it rewrites to find the more related resources. So here we have a description. Search engine breaks the query into meaningful units, identifying the entity, predicate, and attributes, and then rewriting. Why search engine rewrites? To reform, to refine the context. What is the user may not know how documents may be presented. Users may not know what query in the documents has been targeted. So search engine rewrites to present the better and the most useful results. And one word, if you are fond of reading Google patents, so search engine, all the query processing patents mention two things. When a searcher searches a query, search engine looks for relevant and responsive search results. These two include huge signs within them, relevant and responsive resources. So if we don't understand the query semantics, we will be failed to be a relevant and responsive source. So everything in semantic SEO starts with the query semantics. Then query augmentation is another thing. Search engine expands the context. So here is the concept of contextual domains. The last time Kahuna explained it very well. And then synthetic queries. In this synthetic query, search engine tries to understand what are the more related queries, what are the related documents that are serving the context here and that are fulfilling the user's intent behind those queries. And then entity seeking queries. For example, what is the name of son of Barack Obama? So user is looking for a single entity. Who is the best player or who is the best lawyer in this city? So all these users are looking for just a single entity. Now there are types of uh, user queries, entity seeking queries, and then answer seeking queries. And this is the question queries, the whole premise of AI overviews, feature snippets belong to these query types. Use all the Stephen D. Baker's Google patents revolve around answering the answer-seeking queries. And there are some resources, and this version is, and one surprising fact, there was two case study, query semantics case study. There was a written article for query semantics case study, but this has been deleted. I don't know how it has been done, but I summarized the whole written article and this video in this single resource that I mentioned here. If you feel difficulty in understanding query semantics. So this case study, this simple explanation is what I tried my best to simplify these concepts. This portion is from the written articles and then explanation, my commentary, and trying my best to explaining all these concepts in a systematic and easy way. And then we understand lexical semantics. Words are connected with some shared meaning, but there may be context, closeness, and distance. When we say lexical semantics, it means words are automatically and by default connected due to their nature of meanings connection. But here another concept of context closeness or context distance, not meaning but context, and it will include meanings. So here is the concept of semantic distance. How much two concepts or two topics are semantically distant or semantically closed, or how much semantic similarity is there. And this is the most important concept to determine whether a topic needs separate page or it will be merged with a semantically similar topic or within another semantically closed topic. So it is an important concept for content strategy or in our holistic SEO concepts in topical map creation. So calculating the distance between two concepts in a vector space or word net and how broad core algorithms change these distances. In the backend of search engines, they utilize work vector space or word net or different tools or different technologies to calculate whether two concepts or two topics are closer or distant. What is the connection between these two topics? For example, if we take example of weight loss supplements, maybe one weight loss supplement search engine thinks that one weight loss supplement is part of another. So it is showing related topics. We can say that, okay, this product doesn't need a separate page. I am writing a review of a supplement, weight loss supplement. So this supplement is connected with another one. That's why majority results are same to another product. So this way we validate topics, context from search engine result page, and then you have read all the definitions, the measurable gap between two concepts or entities. And how we can say there is a measurable gap? We have a single tool or the first and the foundational tool, that's the sub results. Every bit, byte, and letter ranking on the sub results is valuable, is meaningful, has some meaning. And in our microsemantics module, there is, I think it is ninth module, eighth module, microsemantics. We will see how to understand search engines mind from the search results, microsemantics, how each word conveys some meaning. Whatever search engine is ranking has some connection with our context. And then calculating association and path length, vector space, and embedding word net and lexical relations, the impact of broad core algorithm updates. So actually what happens during a broad core algorithm updates? Last night, search engine introduced a core algorithm update. Core update is something else, and broad core is something else. So during a broad core algorithm update, search engine expands its knowledge bases and knowledge graphs. Knowledge bases is the combination of small databases that includes audience clusters, results, documents cluster, and the queries cluster. And knowledge graph includes entities and their attributes and their connections in a database. So it is node edge connections ontology type, node edge connections of entities, their attributes, and the related entities. So when they are introducing new entities, new topics, new audience clusters, for example, before 2019, there was not a single document regarding COVID-19. When there was an issue COVID-19, it's starting to spread. Audience started to search this topic on the search engine. So search engine started to build a separate query cluster for COVID-19. So it clustered the new documents that are responding to COVID-19 related queries. So a new document cluster generated, and then the new audience cluster generated for COVID-19 search queries and the documents. So this way, search engine creates new entities. So it was a new knowledge domain within the health universe. So a new knowledge domain was created, or you can say new knowledge domain was born with all of its contextual domains and contextual layers. So this happens in a broad core algorithm update. Search engine introduces new entities. It recognizes new contexts, new instance, new perspectives. For example, COVID-19 has its own knowledge domain and contextual domain, and in 2026, there are researches that COVID-19 has adverse side effects. So it is recognizing a new contextual layer within the knowledge domain of COVID-19, and the contextual domain is COVID-19 vaccine. And now its a smaller context is side effects. So this way, search engine introduces or sometimes deletes old attributes or entities from the databases, from the knowledge graph. So it needs to shuffle search results. It starts testing or re-ranking documents based on new recognized entities, new contexts, new perspectives. So this is one aspect of introducing new knowledge graph items, new entities, attributes, new search queries, and the same time looking at the new documents. Which documents has performed well in the era of previous update to this current update. So retesting, testing, and retesting of the documents and re-ranking based on the performance or nav boost, or re-ranking article if it is here, no. Re-ranking, ranking and re-ranking related case study or article is there. That's a huge ocean of knowledge base. If you have time ever, must read that case study from Sarkore. So you have learned all these in dictionary logic. There are some connections of lexical relations, but user behavior may change the meanings, may bring the semantic closeness and similarity between two entities. Then vector math contextual shifting, White House and entity. So it is how search engine recognizes. Next module, initial ranking, re-ranking. Yes. So let us moving towards distributional semantic. So all these details will be in the theory of information retrieval. Yes, such as ranking algorithms. Yes, that's going to be a fun, and our masters Germans will be there to explain all these things. Excited for that. So here, now we are in the second last part of our module 2, distributional and sentential semantics. Now from understanding, okay, in lexical semantics, we know there are some connections between words. We know such queries have their own meanings. With the addition of one word, context or intent of a query will be changed. We know queries have different connections. Some topics are closer and some topics are distant. Now we are going to see how we can utilize them, how search engine looks comprehensively over a document and how it traces individual context terms to understand, okay, what is the overall context of this document. So all this happens with the help of distributional semantics. Sometimes Statistical computation helps search engines to understand the distribution semantics because every word available in a document, every word present in a document is converted into mathematical number, and then search engine makes connection and vector embeddings. That is a huge shit to understand. Let's ignore that. Let's understand it from the context terms. Whatever we are mentioning on our document, search engine quantitatively checks that. How often? That is the TF-IDF context concept. How many times, in which sequence, with what word co-occurrence, context terms have been mentioned in the documents. For initial ranking and qualitative checks, sentence structure and meaning for the ranking. So distributional semantics and the sentential semantics both are related to the context terms or n-grams usage on our documents. Search engine sees, okay, these co-occurrences are there. For example, if you have utilized Surfer SEO or any content creation tool, they have a specific numbering for each phrase or each word. For example, you are writing weight loss supplements review, so it will say ABC product ABC review must be there 80 times. ABC reviews must be in the document 60 times. So what is doing? It is calculating the ranking competitors pages and measuring how many times this entity or phrase has been repeated in their document. So the base concept of those tools is that this is the right frequency of entity repetition to build the overall context for search engines. So here mechanism, co-occurrence matrices, then initial ranking score and purpose, sentential. So distribution semantics is all about your n-gram utilization, your context terms presence. For example, Sir Kore in one of his lectures mentioned that if you are not mentioning your right vocabulary, search engine will fail to understand the right context. In while niches, you are writing regarding the interest rates. If you are not utilizing financial terms regarding interest rates or the interest calculation, how it will build the right context? If a doctor is not utilizing medical language, who will call him a doctor? So if you are not choosing your body physiological related technical jargons in your document, search engine will not treat your content as a authoritative and trustworthy content. So we have some concept of vocabulary richness. And if I remember, Sir Kore has one custom GPT for vocabulary enrichment. You give your topic or you give your written content and it will suggest you how you can enrich the related contextual terms in your document. And then sentential semantics. Sentential semantics means how you are building context through your individual sentences. Now from context terms, we are broadening our horizon and we are looking at individual sentence level. First, we looked at the distribution semantics, that is the word level semantics optimization, whether you are using right word co-occurrence or not. And in the distribution semantics at document level, we need right word co-occurrence, and on site level, at a broader picture as an web entity, we need to have some site-wide n-grams. If you watch our Kore's videos, so it is a famous phrase, site-wide n-grams. To build the topicality of our website, we have a central entity, and we need to augment that central entity to put the closely related context terms in our boilerplate sections, in header, in footer, and in each title tag that are related to our main topicality. So distribution semantics at site level works in a different way. And at document level or at a page level, it works differently. And now at document level, we have a sentential semantics. After caring of individual words placement, individual word co-occurrences, now we are looking at the sentence level optimizations. How our individual sentences are building the right meaning. And then for NLP optimization, we have a discourse integration concept. How each sentence is connected with the next sentence. So every sentence must be like a woven sweater, like each knit or each item is knitted in between everyone. So everything is connected, everything, every sentence is contextually connected with the next one. So here we have discourse integration. The search engine checks if sentences follow a logical flow. And to my writing team and SEO team, I explain it. When we have a conversation, when we have a dialogue, each sentence is connected. We don't introduce alien context. We start when I end one thing, other person starts from that point. When it ends, I start with that point. So contextual flow between sentences. Sometimes it looks very easier, but when we write, it creates a lot of confusion how to connect these two sentences. So we need to always be conscious whether our sentences are connected in a logical flow or not. And then re-ranking decisions, it is from search engine perspective. Practical example, I assume and hope you have learned all these examples very well. Now we are at semantic role labeling and frame semantics. And if you have read the mentioned resources, it is a huge topic and a very, very, very useful concept for our semantic content networks and semantic optimizations. Here, here we have semantic role labeling. Basically, it is a very simple English grammar, subject, object, predicate. If a person is writing a sentence in English, he or she knows very well what is a subject, what is an object, what is a predicate or action verb. But in semantic SEO, this simple English is complicated with the help of context and intent. It is not a rocket science. We have a subject in a sentence, but the rocket science is what will be the subject in our sentence, what will be the object, and what will be the predicate. The science starts with the contextual predicate. How predicates verbs along with its abbreviation, its preposition, or whatever helping verb we are utilizing here. So it must be related to the overall context of that topic. So the simple concept of semantic role labeling is assigning the specific roles in your sentence, in your content. Who is the doer? To which topic we want to put our emphasis. And here is the concept of entity salience. So to which context you are trying to make prominent. What is the dominant context or the dominant intent of a sentence? It will be cleared through the subject, predicate, object alignment. If you put your main entity at object place, it means you have reduced the weightage of that entity. Whatever is at your subject place is the key placeholder, is the main context or the main topic that will be assumed to be the most important one. So these are the main thing, and the simple goal is to clarify to search engines what is the main action and how these agent, the theme or patient or object are playing their role in a sentence. So all these things are related to sentence structure. In sentential optimization, after caring of individual word co-occurrences, word placement, word sequences, we need to understand what deserves to be at subject place, which entity needs to be at object place, and whether my connector at subject place there is an entity, at object place there is an entity. The verb is a connector. So how we are connecting these two things matters a lot. So that's why we have a full-fledged concept of semantic role labeling for our semantic SEO optimizations. And then the last but not the least, frame semantics. When I talk about SEO, automatically there are some evoked frames of on-page SEO, off-page SEO, technical SEO, link building. So these are the small related concepts that evoke in our mind. When I say Barack Obama or Donald Trump, there will be a small picture in our mind. Okay, the president of USA, the ex-president of USA. So he has a lot of power. So these are the related contexts, or in frame semantic language, these are the related frames that evoke in our mind for that particular topic or entity or a context. So this is the same thing whenever we talk about any topic or any word, there are some frames, some smaller parts that build the full story. And I explain it like we have a frame in which all topics are related, in which all the ingredients of a recipe are mentioned. So we say, okay, something is missing. When we learn some information, we hear some information, sometimes we say, no, something is missing, some puzzle is missing, I am unable to understand. There is a missing thing that is creating some hindrance of understanding level. So we are in search of something that is missing puzzle, that is a connector, that is a binder. So the simple concept of frame semantics is there are always some smaller evoked frames that we need to provide in our context. Otherwise, our topical and contextual coverage will be incompleted. So here is an example how predicates define contextual domains. A single verb can fundamentally shift the contextual domain of an entity. So here, let's assume we have a lawyer's concept, where lawyer's context, and changing the predicate will change the object place. So how we are going to explain that context with the help of action verb? So all these things introduces new frames, predicates changes, and the object place entity changes. So we are introducing new concept, new context, new entities, new intents. So with the help of frame semantics, we see what are the related contexts, what are the related intents we need to cover in our topic, and the resources. If you have read this case study and specifically the portion of frame semantics, or this one, or if you have watched my video how to utilize frame semantics, then it will be 80 to 90% cleared in your mind what we are talking about and how ignoring frame semantics may reduce the responsiveness and the contextual coverage of your topic. Now we have completed a short and brief overview of our module 2. Let's move toward question answers. Question 1 is from Lulu. How can a business, especially a SaaS company operating across multiple subfields or product lines, maintain strong semantic similarity across related entities while still clearly differentiating search intent to prevent keyword cannibalization between overlapping pages and sections. So here, two things are important. First of all, maintain strong semantic similarity. But while doing this, we have overlapping pages and sections. Overlapping pages and sections. This is the main item. You will finish on time, unlike me. So we need to understand we can't bring unique items on each page. Some context, some content, some intents will 100% be repeating over the pages. So we need to see where we are putting weightage to a context or a topic. So I am explaining this question with the angle of context weightage. Which document we want to rank for which context or which topic. For example, we have attribute SAS ABC. SAS is our tool and ABC is its attribute. On many informational pages, there will be discussion of ABC attribute. But the main document, the main page we want to rank for SAS ABC must cover it with the frame semantics angle, with the distributional semantics and sentential semantics level optimization. But all other documents on which we are mentioning SAS ABC attribute, we need to be precise. We need to be less comprehensive. We need to mention less entities or related attributes for this ABC attribute. So this is one way to avoid overlapping pages and intent cannibalization. The we have a famous concept of keyword cannibalization, but the most dangerous item is intent cannibalization. There is no keyword cannibalization, but at the back end, intent and context are cannibalizing. We are optimizing two documents for similar context. Let me give you an example. One of my clients created separate quote pages for their service. For example, ABC service, and for the quotation of ABC service, they have separate page. I was surprised why quote pages are separate from the main service page. They said there was a huge demand for ABC quote for the service quote queries. There was huge demand, so they think they want to target this query with a separate page. But whenever we search that quote query, the service pages are ranking. I explained it with a live meaning, and the client was laughing. What the hell we have done? And they have 25 pages for just quotation, book a quotation, book a quote, or get a quote topic. So sometimes there is no keyword cannibalization here, but 110% intent cannibalization. A person who is looking for a quote for a specific service, he wants to go, or he or she wants to go to a service page from where they can understand, okay, what are their services and how can I get a quote. To keep the session shorter, I am closing this question here. And the next one, yes, Kahuna, please.
I would like to just add a few practical tidbits. One thing is,
Yes, please.
in a topical map, sometimes you will end up having two very close pages. To avoid keyword cannibalization, in that case, every contextual domain has a list of pages to use. Make sure the vocabulary that you're using in those pages should be different, and do not use very similar phrases in the top half of the page, at least for the first 4 to 5 headings. If you end up using, then you will create a very similar contextual vector, eventually leading to keyword cannibalization, or you know query cannibalization, whatever you call. And then I don't know what Google will think about what to rank, what not to rank. So just make sure the vocabulary is different because every contextual domain has one. Okay. So
Okay, so next question is Korea's article mentions this point use the most relevant concepts. So we have understood distribution semantics. Okay, we need to mention the relevant n-grams. We have discussed frame semantics. Okay, we need to put the relevant frames in our topic, but there is no such demand, no such volume, or quality thresholds are too high to improve the semantic relevance. So what will happen to the traditional volume-based keyword research that most people still rely on? And the second question is, how do we validate if crossing that line is affecting traffic performance? So here the main thing is affecting the traffic performance. It may it may be due to context dilution. It may be due to ignoring the target topic or context. So let's start with the relevant concepts. So we need to enrich our document. We need to optimize our document for related intents, all the long tail queries, or you can say contextual. There's the smaller, shorter, specific user intents. Whether there is demand or not, we are going to cover those in our content. If there is a demand, we need to have a separate section. Some exceptions are there, but if there is no demand, we will cover it within the content. So traditional volume-based keyword research is failing at that because we are chasing search volume. So we may ignore zero volume search queries, and with the query fan out and query augmentation concepts and LLM and AI overviews visibility, now the importance of long tail queries or the zero volume queries has been increased and is very evident. So we need to change this traditional volume-based keyword research. We need to see the importance of main topic. What is the main topic? And while doing content creation and topical map creation, we never look at the search volumes to see whether this topic is difficult or not. We see search volume, we don't see difficulty scores. We see search volume to see, okay, this topic has a higher search volume, demand is high, it needs to put more focus or emphasis. Then we validate it whether it needs a separate page or a separate section or even a separate sentence, or even it doesn't need a separate sentence, it is just an entity, it is just an attribute, it will be covered in that ABC context. So this way we put focus on most relevant concepts, and while enriching our vocabulary, while including the main concepts or related frames or for distribution semantics, we need to be we need to be careful for the topical borders of our content. For our context borders, how much we need to put information in one of article in one of lectures, Sarkore said, we should never create articles within articles. So whenever you are writing a section, you need to see how much weightage this single section needs, how much content we need to provide in that section. Other leaders can add anything if you want, Kahuna and Germans, if you have some insights regarding question 2, you are welcome.
I would just say this one thing. The details will be in content brief session. So, uh, and I would also request you to just take questions little faster. We have 14. Don't explain something that we're going to do in
Yeah,
practicals
sure.
because there are a lot of details missing here as well. So it's much better if we keep it to that.
Okay, so next question is, when writing an article, it is very easy to expand to different contextual domains. Yes, it is a honey trap. If I write an article about what is Bitcoin, I may include biographical domains, its history, technological domains, its blockchain, and its market behavior. How can I control this behavior? No. How can I control this multi-domain coverage while preserving a primary contextual domain? So we have a entity attribute pair concept, and when all these are attributes, history, and all these things. So here we need to see what are the prominent, what are the popular, and especially all the relevant attributes we need to cover in our content. So this is the main thing. Is it popular? Is it prominent enough not to be ignored? And all these things must be relevant. So we need to cover all these. This is the ultimate formula, ultimate boundary to be within our target contextual domain. Now, question 4. Do lexical relations express the type of relationship that exists between an entity and the attribute associated with it? Types of relationship. Actually, types of relationship will be expressed through action verb, predicate. That's why semantic role labeling is important when we are going to introduce the lexical relations. For example, broader topic A has connection with, for example, the latest example, settlement agreements. So last night I was reviewing a written article. So there was a specific question was how NDAs impact settlement agreements. Settlement agreements. So settlement agreements is a broader term. It has different types: employment settlement agreement, financial settlement agreement, litigation settlement agreements. So they ignore this lexical relation, this lexical behavior of this term to express the connection between broader topic and its specific smaller topics. Its hyponyms, we need a relevant predicate that will build the types of relationship. So that's the main thing. Now, question 5. In practical terms, when I discuss an entity on a page, okay, I need to extract the attributes relevant to my source context and address them on the page. Yes, you need to extract the attributes for that entity, and then you will prioritize those related to our source context and adjust them on the page by leveraging the semantic relationship between the entity and these attributes. Yes, well done. For example, if I am selling industrial cutting lasers and need to discuss this entity on a dedicated page, I will need to extract relevant attributes such as materials, energy costs, product components, rotation speed, and connect them to the main entity using semantic relations. Thus, material will be a hyponym associated with the entity, while machine components will be meronyms. So what is the question actually? So you have explained this ideal scenario. You are going very, very right. So that's the good explanation. So everyone who is looking for how to include meronyms and the hyponyms, this question is a great answer. Question number 6. Just to clarify my understanding, so query augmentation expands the query into other contexts, but it stays semantically similar to the initial one, meaning it doesn't pull in completely different queries and remains closely aligned with the target user's search intent. So it avoids contexts that are irrelevant to that specific user cluster. Yes, you are right. Query augmentation is a very broader topic and it has multiple verticals. For example, search engine may expand to what are the related contextual domains, and what are the contextual layers. For example, weight loss for men, and then search engine may augment it: weight loss for men after 80, before 50, after 50, after 60, after 70, men with diabetes, men with big tummy, men with big belly. So all these are the contextual layers, and in different verticals, search engine may go while doing query augmentation. Question number 7. Should a pillar page target the hypernym exclusively, or it can or can it rank for hyponyms as well without causing cannibalization? or should I create supporting page for hyponym terms? So Anil, your question again related to your last session's questions. Which topic or query or attribute or entity needs a separate page and which doesn't need a separate page? Rewatch last time Kahuna's answer, you will find the answer. There is no particular yes or no answer here. For each hypernym, for each hyponym, you need validation from search results. You need to see search behavior and search engine's behavior, how it's representing and reflecting and ranking the relevant documents. All these things will answer your question. Question number 8. Should my URL structure reflect hypernym, hyponym hierarchy, AV design software rack layout tool, and does Surfer SEO tool that suggest important terms to include in documents are? So you are mixing two contextual domains here. Let us separate it. So first question is regarding the URL structure, hypernym, hyponym. So it depends on what you are making the parent, not parent topic, because it will be including child pages. So you need to define what is the parent. If and obvious, it is obvious, you will make hypernym the broader category. Your parent, if it has, for example, like I gave example for settlement agreements. Settlement agreements is a hypernym, and its hyponyms are the litigation settlement agreements or employment settlement agreement. So I will make the parent one the hypernym. So the same is the case. You need to understand what is the broader one and whether it has sufficient child pages or not. And if you are interested to understand the importance of URL structure, there is a Google patent topic distillation via sub-site retrieval. You can read and understand this patent, how search engine looks at the single folders or the subdirectories as a smaller subsite. Next question, does Server SEO tools that suggest important terms to include in documents, are those suggestions also called those lexical semantics, hypernyms, holonyms? Yes, it may and may not. So it will actually, Server SEO and all those on-page SEO tools will look at the ranking pages, will find the entities and phrases with the help of word co-occurrences. They will measure, make a consensus, and then show, okay, this word, this phrase needs to be mentioned on this page in this number of time. So yes or no, both answers are here. By the way, your questions are always very comprehensive. So both yes answer and no answer, we are in between. Question number 9, how does Google treat hypernym versus hyponym relationship differently from meronym versus holonym relationships in rankings and site architecture? Any practical example? Wow, good question. How Google treats? Google. So Google treats, so Google will give example. We are not ranking. By the way, you need to check one example, and in practical sessions, we can show the example here. Due to time shortage, we can't show the examples, but these are the obvious things. Machines are way more intelligent than human mind, so they can easily do all these things. So in practical sessions, we can give you examples. Question number 10, how can I architect my content ecosystem so that ambiguous abbreviations are embedded inside a strongly defined semantic entity cluster? So ambiguous abbreviations. So why are you letting your abbreviations ambiguous? After entity, first time mention the abbreviation, and then afterwards you can utilize abbreviation. The simple trick to understand whether you can utilize abbreviations or not. Search your main topic or keyword and see whether search engine is ranking any abbreviation or not. If search engine is not tracking any abbreviation, you don't need to make ambiguous abbreviations. So why you are leaving ambiguity for search engines? You are harming them and they will do more harm to you. So be careful. Don't introduce ambiguous abbreviations. Question number 11. Semantic SEO. Yes, Kahuna, please.
Yeah, just one thing related to abbreviation. You typically, let's say, semantic role labeling. You will write the full form, then in bracket it will be SRL. So that will be the typical format that comes under writing rules. Again, so cannot go too deep into the whole things, but will come when we cover that relevant module. For now, you can use this.
Okay, so question number 11. In semantic SEO, should a single content piece aim to satisfy all types of queries? No, that will be a disaster. How is it possible? Synthetic, or is it better to distribute query types across multiple pages? How do I balance topical depth and user intent coverage without cannibalizing my content? Anil, let me answer this. Actually, it again belongs to query deserve a page. You need, let's assume you are writing over a specific dog breed. You will find all the entity seeking queries, answer seeking queries, and synthetic and augmented queries for your target topic. And then you will check whether for these individual query types, separate pages are ranking, search engine has a separate index or not. If yes, you can go with a separate page. If no, it means you can include all those in your single document. Yes, Anil, you have something to say?
Yeah, in my real B2B SaaS company where I'm working, uh, previous question was my doubt. Like, uh, our main word is AV. It's in our B2B sets. B2B says it is the audio visual, meaning is audio visual, but we are also getting impressions for uh, double other meaning, which is in other countries like in Korea. People search for AV like adult video. So how? But we haven't used any terms, frames, what other terms which related to AV in other Korea countries. So how we can avoid this kind of.
Actually, actually, while using, you are literally using ambiguous abbreviation and you are not going to wrong contextual domain. You are going towards very wrong contextual domains. You need to control your entity establishment. It means you have not, if it means you have not established specific context for your abbreviation. So stop doing over optimization for your abbreviations. You need corroboration of evidence. So all of your off-page SEO activities must establish EAV abbreviation with your full name. For example, you are writing audio visual, so stop utilizing individual abbreviation. Every time you mention audio visual, mention AV, AV along with it, so that search engine understands AV is for this audio visual. So it is not going into the wrong direction. And all these things across the web entity presence. This person is doing blessing for you, whoever is adding corroboration of evidence plus across the web entity. So see your brand presence as a web entity. Website is one pillar of web entity, and all the social media presence or all the off-page presence is the different representations. So all of your representations must show that this abbreviation is for this specific purpose. Now we are moving toward the next question. To fulfill distributional semantics, how to find how much times does entity or important contextual terms should be used in a single document. We are not utilizing any tool or any specific criteria. Actually, it has the same formula like the content length. Write as much as needed and write as much shorter as possible. So for each section, you need to see whether this entity is needed here or not. So for section by section, you need to optimize each section. Leave the counting how many times you are mentioning or your competitors are mentioning. You need to optimize your individual sections. Kahuna and Germans, any addition? If you would like. Yes, please.
Uh, for one thing, as Bezad mentioned, you have to do it section by section. Each, as I mentioned before, page has or contextual domain has phrasing list of phrases to use. Similarly, it is also for that particular heading as well. You have to keep that context block quite specific, not repeat those entities in the next one in very similar context. Second thing, how much times does an entity, as Bajad mentioned, there is no number, but again, it's not about mentioning the entity, it's about using the co-occurrence of phrases. So it's not that you're just going to spam dog 100 times. You have to use dog food, then you have to do dog health. You also have to do, so it's going to be different entity and attribute. So it's not about spamming. Every time you use it in a different neighborhood, the context will change, and that's what typically distributional semantics mean. The context around that particular occurrence decide what kind of meaning it has. Okay, a bank around money or money related phrases will consider to be financial bank. A bank around water, river, sand, and these will be considered as a river bank. So that's what it typically means in distributional semantics. So don't get into the spammy mindset. Don't don't do that.
So that's a brilliant addition, and that's the main answer. Actually, I was not targeting that. So question number 12, should pages that are semantically distant, high semantic distance, not be linked directly? So when two topics are not related, why do you need to link them? So actually, if they are semantically distant, but still they are overall in broader context, they have some connections. That's why they are present on your website. That's why they are within our semantic content network. So you need to search for some shared context via which you can internal link. And internal link is so much important that we have different technical jargons for this internal linking. We don't call it internal linking, we call it contextual connections. Whenever we want to internally link another document, we create a special section, not a random. For example, in random websites, most of our clients, whenever there is a just one word present, they will put the link. No context is there, no special section is there, but we are so much careful for internal linking. We have a different naming for that. We call it contextual border, we call it contextual bridge to link us from a section. We create contextual connection. We first build context, then link to another document for search engines clarity and the maximum link juice. The second last question is question number 13, but Kahuna has some brilliant addition. Yes, please, Kahuna.
So short pages that are semantically distant. Just remember one thing. I will not go in too much detail. Again, different section to answer for this. But the higher the distance, the more effort you have to put to bend the context and eventually lead to that particular context from where you can actually link. So The higher the distance, higher effort it will take you to really build that relationship in your content. That's the answer for this. How to band? Watch our module 8 or module 7.
Yes, we are here to bend the meanings and context in module 8 surely. So question number 13, in semantic SEO, does including lexical semantic relationships like hyponyms, meronyms, and holonyms within a document help Google and determine semantic closeness and distance between concepts? Additionally, can internal, so you are again mixing two contextual domains, meronyms within a document help Google determine semantic closeness and distance between concepts? Yes, it depends on your website authority. When you are an authoritative source, when you are a trusted source, Google treats you as a teacher. Google takes your dictation. What you will say, it will have a higher weightage for them. But when you are struggling to rank, then Google will not look at your consensus, your connections. It will match your connections with the already ranking website's consensus. Yes, it does, but whether search engine will accept it or not, it will compare with the already built consensus by the ranking websites. And then if you are within the consensus, and if you are looking at the LinkedIn and the latest researches, consensus, consensus is a ranking factor, especially in YMYL niches. And then additionally, can internal linking strategy be optimized based on semantic distance or similarity between pages? And if so, what is the best way to implement? It is not a question, it is already a fact. Internal linking is always based on semantic closeness. What are the related topics? And the time is shorter, but I am going to show you user context based search engine. So this is the single most important Google patent. You must not skip it. This single patent will help you understand major concepts from Sir Corey's framework, macro context. And last time I explained this one a little bit, that search engine divides every information over the internet with specific context. And this patent, the engineer was in hurry, so he has some proofreading issues. It is not micro context, it is micro context. So this patent mentions micro context, and it defines micro context as the closely related topics. Closely related topics. And this is the biggest hint for our internal linking strategy. So for just this point, I opened this patent. The next question is, and that's the last one. Yes, please, Anil.
It's me, it's me, not Anil. I just want to make sure by question 13, you did not mean that using hyponyms, meronyms, holonyms, Google will consider you relevant. I think probably the question was around that rather than actually building connections in the knowledge graph. Can you clarify, Anil?
Yes, Anil, only you can clarify.
Yeah, you should. I don't think he will go in that area, how to bend meaning in knowledge graph right now.
Yeah,
The audience is silent. Yes, please.
yeah, I was asking the same that Kauna mean.
Okay, thanks. Let me just clear that thing. Yes, the answer is yes, because holonyms, meronyms, hyponyms depends on the context, will appear together and will improve your. Look, semantic closeness is about synonyms, not thing. The word that you are looking for is semantic relevance, not closeness. Okay, so the more things co-occur in a certain contextual domain or certain shared context, high likelihood is that you will be considered relevant to that if you also end up using those things together. Distributional semantics 101. That's what Bazat said today. I was aware probably he meant something else. That's why I had to chip in.
Okay, you are always great and great addition. Thank you so much. Now, question 14. I am really impressed by the video on frame semantics. I think he's mentioning me. Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. I realize it's a very useful approach for extracting context and thus attributes associated with the target entity to cover, but I was wondering if you could suggest a method that could serve as an alternative, at least initially, to AI-based tools like the GPT presented in the video to stimulate our brain reflexes. Brain reflexes. Who will stimulate your brain reflexes? I am unable to answer it. Yes, Kamuna. Do you have something to add? How you can stimulate Anil's brain reflexes, or whoever
Is it
mentioned
any?
this?
I think it's
Sorry,
Colombo. I guess it's
sorry.
Colombo, the way it is structured. Oh yeah,
Oh
I got it.
yes,
I, I'm very good at getting author signals.
yes. So
But
you have
yeah,
also algorithmic authorship recognition.
yeah,
That's great. Thanks.
I'm having that algorithm running at this moment. So the talking through about nobody tells you. A nice title of the video, Fazad. I realize it's a very you
Okay, I was
nice.
trying to show you there is a custom GPT by Sarkore knowledge domain terms extractor. Knowledge domain terms. Knowledge domain terms. So whenever you are starting a topic, you need to understand what are the vocabulary of this knowledge domain. It will help you understand first step is to know the vocabulary, and then your mind will starting understand the related context from that vocabulary. So first you need to know what are the related terms, items in this knowledge domain, and then your brain will start reflexing over the okay, how this topic is connected, how this word is important in this knowledge domain, why this knowledge domain term is here, what does it mean, and how it is connected with this knowledge domain or my topic. For each topic, and you will see if you have seen my incomplete content brief creation video, I have mentioned the raw data collection, and we collect knowledge domain terms for each topic so that we understand okay, what is the vocabulary that we need to have in our document. So simply know your niche, master your niche, and then your mind will start reflexing, and your mind will help you understand the relevant and the related frames. Yes, Kahuna, please.
So I really like the question first of all because I'm usually Garmas knows this. I'm I'm always favoring the brain reflexes over GPTs if you're learning. One thing to guide you in that frames typically get triggered when you are using a certain predicate. So let's just say one example, brew coffee. So eventually you can think just like a user and see what are the entities or different nouns or verbs that can be used there. One is I don't know the process of brewing coffee, but let me just assume a few things. You will have a machine. You will have coffee, of course. Otherwise, what will you brew? And water. So all these elements, nouns, will be considered as actors. I don't know what label will be used, but you can consider those relevant pieces of information in that particular frame. Okay. The next, whatever heading you have a contextual vector, there will always be connected with a verb or and a noun, and a certain frame will be invoked. Think about that frame. What are the different things that are going to be used? What are the different sub actions that you can use? What are the verbs associated with those actions? and what are the outcomes, what adjectives you can use. All those will be considered as relevant phrases, relevant things in that particular frame. So again, eventually it leads to co-occurrence of things in a certain frame. A frame is basically a context, like it's not some fancy thing. It's just a mental view or how you see. Similar things are invoked for search engines algorithms, but they don't really have visualization power, so they rely on having the contextual terms. So you try to get into that. And one easy thing that you can do is check your competitor, what they are using in that particular context block, because because of them, Google has the information about context pages and all those, because that's what the web has: documents, users, and queries. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And just last addition for this practical and motivating our brains to think like a custom GPT for frame semantics. One thing that I do with my team members, I help them. I tell them to utilize frame semantics, and then for next topics, when we have created 10 to 15 content briefs in for a particular contextual domain or knowledge domain, after that, I ask my team members, now without this custom GPT, now you need to run your brain and you need to think, okay, what may be the possible frames for these new topics? Because you have some new topic, you have some knowledge for this knowledge domain or contextual domain. Now you must put some effort at your mind level to think about the related frames, while they have already now knew some vocabulary or dictionary of that particular knowledge domain. I think that's all for that question. That was actually a genius question. Thanks for that question. Yes, please.
So I have a question related to our topics that we discussed today. So I have seen in local niches that, let's say if we want to establish a topical relevance, let's say I'm creating a parent topic, and then for the child topic I'm creating the service pages. But I'm seeing that in local SEO things, Google is ranking on, like, there are many competitors that just have a one single homepage. Okay, so Google is ranking just the homepage for all the service queries, like the child themes. So if I want to create a website for a new client and I am creating a homepage and for all the services, service pages, but when I'm looking at the pages that are ranking, it's the usually the homepage. So checking the search intent. So in that scenario, should my strategy be just creating the homepage, or should it be, because I want to establish a topical relevancy for the client, I need to create all the service pages and the blogs around it? So I just want to know your opinion.
Yes, Kamuna. What is the content strategy? Competitors are ranking with single page. If we want to replicate, what to do in this situation?
Can I have the question again, just in one sentence, without the backstory?
Uh, so if I'm looking at the search intent, it's usually the one page that is ranking. And to establish a topical relevancy, I want to
Give
create
example.
uh, okay, for a saloon website. It's usually the homepage that is ranking, and there are like different saloon services, like um, haircut, or styling, or hairstyling, haircut, and yeah, like a few services that client is providing. But most of the time, it's just the homepage that a competitor is ranking for.
So for all the services, I think you can initially try with one homepage, have all the attributes listed there. Typically, that's what you can do initially, and I think you would penetrate as long as all the others, the distance is not that high. You can co-return it too if you want to. I don't know if it's public publicly available domain or not. I don't want to name it, but yeah, I have seen it. I know if you have followed his LinkedIn, there was a law website mentioned. I won't reveal the domain, but just to go through his LinkedIn, he has given some tidbits in that particular post that will help you. It's just you have to consolidate all the things.
I would like to add here just one thing. Sir Corey has 2-3 posts for a law website for which he just optimized the homepage and the ranking queries and the traffic boosted. And on that post, you can read my comments, my big long comments. The major context there is the query path reflection or query path satisfaction on a home page so that search engine finds that page responsive to the major queries and intents of your target audience. Yes, Germans, please.
Also, one note about that is that some of the services most probably were also cannibalizing a little bit with the main one. So that's why they were consolidated in 301 to the homepage. But generally, yeah, like Kahuna Betzat said, one page most likely, but then you need to just double check as well the services, whether they have a strong indication that it deserves a page, and then you decide whether to open sub pages or not. But typically, one page homepage, let's say, focusing on that has been really working well recently, and in many cases, just depends on the how many pages there are needed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for joining in. See you all next in next Saturday. One good news: you guys will be out of the group. Less number of people now in the WhatsApp group. Don't be. I can see Agnes having a nice smile for that.
Yes, Germans,
Yeah,
please.
very much.
Just one side comment, observation from Adrian, one of the members in our cohort as well, is that all these questions that have been asked, they are really, really good. And I totally second that. They're very good questions with many, many terms and concepts reflected that we don't actually hear that much in actual cohorts with people who have access to the course. So really good job, and hope to see that also. Really nice to see that progress already.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
I
Kahuna
think
has an assignment.
no, I cannot. I'm having some issues with the meeting right now.
Okay, no problem. I have taken a screenshot. Okay, then
Yeah.
thank you so much. That's all for today.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining the session and nice session. See you in the next session. Bye bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.